quality story. All right, so there is a book by a man named Robert McKee, and it is called Story. If you are a natural student, just a consummate learner, if you're not someone who tends to skim, you're someone that just soaks up things about film and Hollywood and how the history of Hollywood and all of this, McKee, this book is incredible. I still have my copy all underlined and, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. But I have boiled something down for modular method that I call, in honor of him, McKee method. And it is the 8 milestones of a well-crafted story, or as Robert McKee would put it, a good story well told. Because sometimes we have a good story, but it's not well told. And other times we have something that's well told and looks beautiful, but it just doesn't have a good story. And by good story, I mean a rich story. So McKee breaks these down at this moment in a film, this should happen. And in this moment, this should happen. I don't, prescribe? I don't subscribe?
Yeah.
Ascribe? One of those scribes. So these are the milestones. And I say have them in order, but you don't have to have them at particular times. I think especially if you're a more established writer, that can become very restrictive and you just want to die because your story doesn't fit those little things. So if you are making an 8-episode series and pitching it to Blue Forge Films, maybe have one milestone in each episode. Okay, but if you're doing a feature film, or even really a short film, they're all going to be in here. First one, the inciting incident. Remember how I talked about the inciting incident? This is your flashpoint. This is your thing that happens that causes everything else that comes after to happen. Your inciting incident grabs your viewer. It is everything. And it also often sets the tone of the film. So this is where we kind of tell people what a genre is, what a look and feel is going to be, but it is the flashpoint. It is and it doesn't have, people say, so it has to be like a boom, like an explosion, like a car crash. And I'm like, no, it can be you wake up and your beloved dog has passed in its sleep beside you. Mm-hmm. It can be that your daughter, you're in a deep depression and your little toddler daughter comes in from out in the yard and brings you a tiny flower and you realize you have to live for her. I'm really pulling stuff out of my head at this point, you guys. So you gotta kind of work with me here. So what I'm saying is, I don't need a big actiony moment. I can have a man crying because he and his wife's marriage has just dissolved and he's literally leaving the house, or whatever it is, small or big. It's big in terms of the story.
It starts the story.
It starts the story. Then our next milestone is the central question. If your film could ask one question, what would it be? Now Robert McKee says that he likes it when filmmakers actually work that question into dialogue somewhere, and I've heard that repeated by other people that scribe to McKee. I tend not to do that, but I think it's important to know my central question and to metaphorically or symbolically or literally ask it in some way within, at this point in your film. Now your central question could be, would mankind survive an alien invasion? Though really that's not what your main question is, as you know. Your main question is, how do humans treat each other in light of the arrival of another species?
In other words, what would you do to somebody else to survive?
There we go. So your question is very clear in your mind for your books. Any film should have the same thing. Very clear in your mind what your central question is. Our third milestone is true desires. What are the true desires of your protagonist or protagonists? Okay? We know what they've showed us they want, but what are their true desires? This is when we see a glimpse of those for the first time. Milestone 4, the first climactic event. This is the thing that shakes shit up. Now you're saying, Is this for action films? No, again, this could be an emotional shakeup. This can just be a
Phone call from a doctor saying you have cancer.
Yes.
yes, or phone call from the doctor and they leave a message, they seem alarmed, but we can't get a hold of them. And then,
Come home.
shake it up.
You come
This is
home.
what shakes
you
it
come
up.
home and you find your wife of 50 years old. The 50 years has passed away in the garden.
Exactly. There we go. First climactic event. Now, after this comes a series of scenes, but they all encompass this milestone. Because a milestone isn't like one moment, it can be stretched out. Where growth, change, and adaptation occur. So grow, change, adapt. So the first climactic event has happened, and our protagonist or protagonists must now grow, change, and adapt. And they do at this point. They don't huddle, now that could mean they huddle down into fetal position, okay?
They give up, die.
They give up. So I guess that might say the reverse of growth, but it's change, it's adaptation. They are reacting to the first climactic event. So grow, change, adapt. Any or all of those things. Okay, so now our sixth milestone.
But, wait, oh, that was 5? Grow,
Yeah.
change, adapt was 5. Oh, I
Yes.
thought that was a part of the, okay. All right.
So our sixth is obstacles and a touch of humor. Now, obstacles are, it's a series of things. Like you thought that first climactic event was bad. Now it's like one thing after another, facing our protagonist or protagonists. And why I say a touch of humor is there's a thing that I personally like to call the Titanic propeller effect. On opening day of the Titanic, I went to see the Titanic with a friend that I went to high school with. He loved James Cameron, and I loved him. I thought he was so sweet, and so I went with him to the movie about the boat that sank, that I found sad. And the boat is sinking, and I'm so bored. And I just was so bored, and I was so rolling my eyes, and her hand on the sweaty window of the car. Nothing about the film was speaking to me. Nothing. And the boat is breaking in half, and people are falling off the boat, and there's this CGI shot of one of the just extras, one of the actors falls from the boat, hits the propeller, and ricochets off into the water. And I am the asshole in third row center who just busts out a guffaw that is just so, and I just like, boing. And poor Jim turns to me and he's like, really?
Boing.
When you
I
said
like that.
propeller effect, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
McKee, though he doesn't talk about Titanic, he talks about this effect. I'm sure he calls it something graceful, but I call it Titanic propeller effect. He says viewers have a saturation point, and when you get past that saturation point, you have wrung them dry, and because they know it's not real, their mechanism is to laugh. If it becomes so horrific, they will find any little thing, some dying character's flies undone, or boing off the propeller. And I'm just like, yes, they all die. The women die, the children die. They don't even let them try to get off the boat. They lock them in their quarters, they lock them on. There's nothing more horrific, and yet we're writing a movie about my feelings on the Titanic could go on an entire segment. But, so when you are doing this, not montage, this barrage of obstacles for this milestone, you have to build in your own touches of humor. Because if not, you will oversaturate your viewers. Okay, milestone number 7. A new hope, and yet a deeper dread. I love this one. The day is saved. Oh no, but it's not. And our final milestone is so hard, I think, for so many people. A satisfying That means to the viewer, not to our own egos. A satisfying but unexpected ending. It's hard to give viewers the ending they want, but the unexpected ending they want. That is a satisfying ending, but that is not where I thought this was going. And we hear it all the time. We go to see something and we go, oh, you know, the end though. The end though. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it was unexpected, but it wasn't satisfying. Or it was expected. It was so expected. It was exactly what was expected. You knew it was coming from the third minute of the film, and so it's not satisfying. I don't like happy endings.
You don't?
I think, to get all Freudian for a minute, I think that losing my dad at 4 and seeing him as this effeminate, creative, gentle, sweet, soft-spoken man, and my mom as this rough and tumble, tomboyish character, I don't know how she was with my dad, type thing, broke my ability, and I mean this totally seriously, broke my ability to craft these sweet, Hallmark, happy, because it's just, I don't see that happening. And you're like, Jen, you have 2 beautiful children, you have a house, you have a beautiful wife, da-da-da-da. You have all this joy and happiness. I think that life does unexpected things. And so, in Black Bishop, Red Queen, I'm not going to ever let any of you watch it, because now I've taught you a class and I don't need you to see my naked butt.
Oh, come on.
In the end, the story follows a single mom who lives here in Kitsap, rurally. She has twin kiddos. It's never said where her spouse is or if she ever had one. And she has a boy and girl, and she loses the girl when there is a carbon, I'm going to say it wrong, dioxide, carbon monoxide. You know, from like a wood stove, it comes up and it goes badly. Okay, in the house, and the young lady passes, she's a teenager, passes, she lays down to nap, and she dies. And actually the mom also almost dies, and the son is actually who saves them. The son is so devastated, well, the mom is completely broken by the loss of her daughter. And already the mom was morally and ethically, I would say, a little bit questionable. To support her kids, she is a dealer. And she works in the big city. So she goes every day into the big city in the middle of the night, and she works the club scene, the rave scene specifically. Primarily selling LSD, but some coke, some uppers, things like this. And it's cash and carry, obviously. And that's how she just drops the cash in the jar when she comes home. She does not use at all herself. Her son is so broken by the loss of his sister that he literally starts to research and dabble in as realistic, and it's amazing how realistic we actually got this and believable in black magic. And he is able to form a doorway in his house into this, which makes this sound so ridiculous and fantastical, but it really wasn't. It was very... this doorway where he can pass over into the afterlife and spend time with her. Well, of course, as always happens, because this is a storytelling trope, eventually he accidentally brings something back with him. And by doing that, his sister crosses back over into his world, but this other thing is there as well. And it's not that she's alive. It's just that some perception of her is here. In the end, they beat the bad guy, but the Force also, and just when we think everything is going to be all right, and the mom can see the daughter all of a sudden. So you're like, oh my gosh, is she back? Is she, oh my gosh. And then the family is all together in the house, and we see fire start to lick through the house, smoke starting to roll in. And I gotta tell you, we did that practical, not CGI. We laid lighter fluid. So you wash your floors, okay, actually, I don't think I can say this in terms of liability. I can't recommend that people do this. I can only say this is how we did it. That doesn't mean you should do it. And yeah, actually, I'm gonna say to partners, don't do this. You need to find your own ways to do this, because this is how I did it. So we laid lighter fluid and we just caught it on fire. And you lay it very, very lightly, like with a Q-tip.
Yeah.
And so we literally lit the house on fire. But all of the cameras were in place the entire time. So it was, I mean, it was not milliseconds, but it was literally 2 or 3 seconds a shot. So licking up a door, licking along the floor.
And of course you had fire extinguishers.
Oh yeah, well and we had at that point a crew of 4, all with fire extinguishers. Even though again we weren't lighting great expanses, so I mean one person could throw a wet towel, which is also what we had, on the little part that we were lighting. But anyway, and then we decided, okay, then we spritzed down with water. Another area didn't look wet, that worked. It wasn't porous. Hung our own curtains, caught the curtains on fire and let them literally burn. So it was like, psh, 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 flash of fire, flash of fire, flash of fire, long extended flame. Smoke billowing under the door, smoke machine, not difficult there, and suddenly you have a family in a burning house, right? Very, very simple.
Yeah.
So in the end of the film, we then cut away to, it's the special filter of the afterlife. And the 3 of them are there, and they're together, and they're happy, and they're at the little tea table that the little girl the girl has always had, where her brother would come to visit her, and they're laughing and they're talking and they're drinking tea and eating gumdrops, and it was great. Okay, they're all dead.
Right.
They're all dead, but there is no point in the film where you're like, that son and brother and that mama want to keep living. There's no point. Where you get that, they love each other. I mean, oh my God, do they love each other?
Yeah.
And they're hanging in there for each other. But they don't want to be here. And if their house could just burn down around them, that would be great. But in that final moment, and Brianne's running camera, and she's closing in on the family. So it's me and Max, and we're huddled in a white-on-white tiled walk-in shower, which is where they've been backed up into. And it's like a cocoon, it's like a cave. And Brianne is closing in and closing in and closing in. And I say, Faith, don't look scared. She goes, like I've done this on purpose? Like I'm the creature? I say, just keep your face neutral. Max, you and I are gonna look scared.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, she did it. One tiny change, unexpected, but so satisfying. None of these people are bad. And of course, that was the moral play of this entire thing. Here's this teenage boy doing black magic and cutting open his arm in a K with his sister's name, Cassidy, to be able to cross. We think he's doing something nefarious, something horrible. He's trying to cross over to see her. He can't live without her. And this force that comes in, it does kill. It kills the prostitute that the mom brings home one night. It kills the social worker that comes to the door because the boy hasn't been in school. And there's just blood everywhere in the house. And so there's these forces, but those 3, that mom and those 2 kids, we only see them as like they are trying so hard to survive. So give people that satisfying but unexpected ending. That's just so vital. So there are our milestones, but what I would also like to say on camera, because we were talking about this between shots, is I don't need work that comes to us, and I certainly don't need everyone out there using modular method to write things with a dark edge, or even things that are edgy in any way. Film with puppets, film with puppies, film children's fare. Modular method is not just for R-rated films, for gracious sake. It's absolutely not. It can be used, it's for storytelling. And we have a partner that literally all she does is family-friendly fare. It's always a positive uptick at the end. And that is valid. We need all of these stories in the world.